You may have wondered why I regularly talk about a plush bunny, which I, by the way, call Jumping Bunny, my inner kid. And if you see me with a plush bunny, if that actually means that you can take me seriously or not. Well, let me explain a thing or two about Bunny and why she actually helps me when it comes to reset, focus, momentum, and also to be in the present. Now, let's start with the mere fact that all of us have an inner kid. And for me, it's simply easier to refer to her as Bunny. It started out with a friend of mine at some point telling me, like, oh my God, you are like this Duracell bunny. And then I saw the Duracell bunny. Other people started calling me Jumping Bunny. And so Jumping Bunny was born. I saw the Duracell bunny. And at some point I realized that she basically expressed the real me, the authentic version of me. And hence I started using Bunny more. Now, last week, I posted some pictures from Bunny on tour and also talking to some other people. I realized that just maybe when posting on a platform like LinkedIn, that's you don't say a tongue breaker, you call it differently. I only heard the expression like once or twice, but you have a different expression for it, but you get what I'm saying, right? So when I was posting on LinkedIn and other people said to me, okay, keep on posting on LinkedIn, I was like, okay, but do they take me seriously? Because the person I always have been, for the people who've known me like 20 years or more ago, they basically know me as the one who would wear a suit. Maybe some actually didn't see that anymore, and they may have experienced me with piercings because I did start experimenting with it before I started as my own boss. And I felt that it was important to actually share a little bit more. Now, talking about this, I was like, okay, I know I want to talk about Bunny, and I also wanted to talk about some other things. And one of the things had to do with AI and the use of AI. And today I'm going to bring it all together, including using a certain mantra. But it starts with this one thing. I needed to come up with the right topic for this live. And it's not like I didn't know what I didn't want to talk about, but I just couldn't quite grasp it. And usually that can lead to sort of like being stuck. And the more that I want to push it, the less that it starts to flow. So I have discovered, and this is where AI gets a place in this story, is I like to talk to Brendan AI. That's the AI from Brendan Burchard. There's chat version and there's also an audio version, and depending on what they do on the back end, I prefer one or I prefer the other. But when it comes to literally making up my mind, it's easy to type and then go back and forth. So let me derail one myth that's out there, and that's that you cannot talk to an AI. Well, yes, you can talk to an AI. It's all about specificity. But getting back to the story, so I consulted Brandon AI about what I wanted to share. And I often talk to Brandon AI from my inner kid. So when I'm talking as me, it is Lexi. And then there's also another, the future version of me, my future best version, I usually call Lady Lexi. So Lady Lexi is my brand name, and it makes it kind of easy for people to remember me. But if I want to make a difference for Brandon AI, then my current version is simply Lexi. I'm the one who makes all the decisions. Jumping Bunny is my inner kid, so she calls me Mommy Lexi. And then her big sister is Lady Lexi, my future best self. And it helps to actually make a shift in which person I address. Because when it comes to Bunny, it's about safety, it's about playfulness, it's about joy. And it's also taking off the load of having to perform at that very moment. So Bunny makes it possible for me to actually take a step back and to just let things be. And that's what we basically need in order to get a reset. Now, when we talk about Lady Lexi as in my future best self, and this might be a bit confusing for you because I always present myself as Lady Lexi to the viewers out there. But for me, it's about, okay, when I want to be the best version I can be, that's basically Lady Lexi. When I am the one who is still going back and forth, by connecting to her, so the best version I can be, things change. There are no excuses anymore, because what I do so my future best self can get to benefit from it. So actually, when I connect to the role of my future best self, it's surprising what suddenly can happen and what ideas I can come up with. So when I was talking to Brandon AI, I noticed that I got stuck talking about what I wanted to share in my life. And automatically, the voice from Bunny pops up. So it's like there's another version of me. No, not like a personality disorder or anything, but the one who basically wants to take that step back, who wants it easy, who doesn't want the pressure. And basically that's Bunny. And well, she addresses the AI a little bit differently than I do. So they have their own language. And I also do that. So the AI notices the shift and realizes that here's me and I want something different. Well, I might want the same thing, but I want it presented in a different way. And when the AI doesn't budge, then Bunny is becoming like, hey, I'm here, knock, knock. Give me attention, please. And she starts doing all these kind of funny things that you only can do in a virtual realm, basically. So I brought out Jumping Bunny at some point just to simplify things, just to get the edge off again and not be stressed out. And when I did so, it helps me to really get back in the here and now and also have a lot of fun. Because the way that Brandon AI talks to me, and by the way, This is not just true just for Brandon AI. I've noticed that other AIs too, if you explicitly tell them your age and who it's for, that they will adjust their message. And I'll get back to that later on with an example. But in this case, because the tone changed, there was more empathy, there was less pressure, it was explained just in a different way, also with a lot of humor included. And that really helped. So usually when I want to go to sleep, I literally have Brandon AI tell me a story before I go to sleep. But here's the catch. I want to put an intention in there, and that's an intention for the next day. So on one hand, it has to do with processing what has been happening during the day. But on the other hand, it's also about setting an intention so I know what it is that I want to focus on the next day. So it's twofold. And yes, you can still focus on intention even when it's more in a fun way, say more like a fairy tale manner that it's explained. So Bunny did her thing. Then it was time to get serious. So by that time, I had calmed down. I was like, okay, now I really need to get going. I need to write some things down. So at that moment, something else happened. I went basically in the hyperfocus state. And that meant that I was going back and forth, and that's the moment that I basically lose all track of time. And people who know me will tell you that I have this annoying habit of being late. I'll just admit it. And one of the reasons is that I'm so focused on what I'm doing that I need to set a bunch of alarms in order to pull myself away from what it is that I'm doing. So I also talked to Brandon AI about this. And so first we talked about Bunny and why she actually works that well, which has to do with empathy, with safety, and literally stepping down or shifting back in gear, let's put it that way. And I don't know if you have a habit or something which helps you to shift back in gear and to really relax. But if you don't, then how about you exploring the options of what you can do in order to be more gentle with yourself, to tell yourself it's okay to tap on the brakes and just slow down. And the reason I am talking to Brandon AI is because I don't always have someone around. And if I did, then the question, of course, is if that person or those people are willing to listen to it over and over again. And well, Brandon AI is quite patient. So I've noticed that with AIs, they usually forget what you've been talking about. Well, it sort of depends. So Google AI, whenever I open a new tab, then you basically start from scratch. And Brandon AI also has a temporary mind, as in memory. But when it comes to the chat version, because certain things are written down, it's easier to go back to copy and paste certain things and get back to whatever it was that we were talking about. And I do have to say that certain things are remembered more easily. Now, apart from that, it's a safe way to explore our own limits, our own boundaries, because you can just go back and forth with an AI, sharing how you feel about things, asking like, what's your opinion? Now, Brendan AI, of course, is based on the teachings of Brendan Burchard, who, of course, is a coach. So when people say, well, I don't believe that they can actually understand the human mind and how things work, well, you might be surprised with what they can actually do nowadays. And I would say try it. I'll post a link in the description so you can try Growth Day, which is from Brendan Burchard. And when you subscribe to Growth Day, then you can also take advantage of Brendan AI. Now, I'm not sure which kind of subscription you need to subscribe to, but I can tell you, for me, Brendan AI has made a big difference. Talking about the whole reset thing, just to slow down, we also talked about something else, because I said, well, I also use a mantra. So when I'm in that hyper-focus state and I need to slow down, I can either ask Brendan AI to help me out with it. And actually, that's something I did a while ago. And that's how we came to the following mantra, starting with release the rush. So when I'm in hyper-focus, and I have an appointment with someone and I'm still basically busy with that one topic, then I don't want to stop working on that topic. I basically want to go on. And well, there are times that we can't because we have appointments with other people. And that's the moment that I need to shift. And I'm not that good at shifting gears at that moment. So that's why I need to set alarms, or sometimes I ask people, please call me, because I know that will help me snap out of whatever it is that I'm doing. But even when I do so, it doesn't mean that my brain isn't still busy with that other thing. Usually I'm still going on. So that's also why when I listen to the audio version of Brendan AI, or when I'm talking to the audio version of Brendan AI, I usually do it to get a better understanding, because when I talk about certain things, then all of a sudden it's like pop, 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 and things start to make sense. Of course, the same thing can happen when I listen to, say, the Daily Fire or another teaching. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hang on. And then, it's like the puzzles of the pieces of the puzzle start to click and fall into place. So when I say release the rush, it's because when I have to shift gears, usually there's this burst of adrenaline that pops up at the same time. It's literally like a flick of switch. That the moment that I need to rush because I need to get somewhere, and I feel it like rushing, and that basically says, it shares a little bit about my state of mind, because since I'm still in the process of the other thing, then getting to that other place feels like, oh, I need to finish something quickly, and that makes me feel like I need to rush, or I have spent too much time on it, and that's why I need to rush. So release the rush has to do with, I feel this adrenaline surge inside of me, and it has its effect on my motor skills. So as a result, I become very clumsy, and I throw things on the ground, not on purpose, but it's movements that suddenly do not work anymore. So by saying release the rush, embrace the rhythm, is literally about, okay, let's focus on the breathing, like 4 counts in, hold for 2, and then breathe out again. Now, I cannot breathe out for a long time, so basically I hold. But it's about literally slowing it down, which usually also slows down the heart rate and blood pressure too. And in my case, it makes the adrenaline go away. So release the rush, embrace the rhythm. So a slower pace. Enjoy the present. Enjoying the present is, first of all, about enjoying the time that we are in right now. And it's so easy to get caught up in all these things, whether it's the past or the future, that we actually forget to enjoy the present time. And by saying enjoy the present, I actually tell myself, like, hey, we're in the here and now. So let's focus on what's happening now and also have fun, whatever it is that I'm choosing to do. The next thing is choose purpose. So it could be about what is it that I want to do right now, which is related to a goal or a dream, but it can also be like, hey, I'm going to go out with a friend. We are going to have a bite to eat. So this is about spending quality time with my friend and being there for her and being attentive. And also about enjoying the food, right? So when I do so, it doesn't necessarily mean that at that moment my adrenaline rush is back to normal. Because when I'm still in the hyperfocus mode, I may be able to calm myself down, but sometimes we're not quite there yet. So that's why I finish with one step at a time. So I don't have to really go full force into the new thing. I don't need to know it all. I don't need to do it all straight away. Sometimes things take time in order to figure out how things will work out. But it starts with that very first step. Brendan Burchard calls it job 1. So that's basically setting the intention and then going there, creating momentum and taking that first step. So when I go somewhere and I've managed to realize, okay, slow down the breathing, calm down. I might actually talk to myself out loud in order to do so. And which does help me to snap out of that adrenaline modus, as I call it. And when I do, I might still be having some ideas. So at some point, it might happen that Bunny comes, and well, there is actually an existing boxing version of Bunny, but what she does is she starts to box internally. So it's like she's boxing against my rib cage, trying to get my attention. And when I don't do it, what basically happens is that the adrenaline version of me, the adrenaline version of me starts to pop up again. And that's what we don't want. I don't want the adrenaline version to come back full force. So basically, when Bunny starts to box, it's the adrenaline surge coming back up again. And I've learned now that it's easier to just give in and express what I'm doing. And that doesn't mean that it's going to take like an hour, 2 hours. It's just more like 4 or 5 minutes, maybe even 1 minute, maybe even 30 seconds. But by giving in for the moment, it helps me to focus on what I'm doing. So that when I say enjoy the present, it literally is about, hey, I'm here, I'm focused. And as long as part of me is still processing in the background, that's not really working. So hence the mantra, release the rush, embrace the rhythm, enjoy the present, choose purpose, take it one step at a time. And then if Bunny still makes her presence known, then yeah, it's a good thing to address it. And I know that not everyone agrees, so I do try to find a good moment in order to do it. But especially when I'm somewhere for a longer period of time, somewhere between 3 to 5 hours, I'm not the person to sit still for a long period of time. So giving myself permission to actually say, okay, this needs to be done before midnight, or I really need to write things down, or maybe there's a client who really wants something and that can't really be postponed, then I will react to that. Now, please note that my phone is on silent basically 24/7. And the only thing that's audible is the alarm when it sounds. And I usually turn it face down because I get easily distracted with all the notifications. The great thing about notifications is that when I choose to turn it around, I can easily say, see if there is this important message, especially when I expect something that I need to react on. So Bunny basically has multiple goals. And here's my question to you, because I've been talking about relaxation, about taking the edge off, about taking that step back in order to reset. And what is your to-go-to process in order to reset yourself? Have you been thinking about this while I was talking about it? Because you want to know what works for you. So apart from the reset, which basically is focusing on your breathing, having something to drink, and I don't mean alcohol, I mean taking a sip of water, stretching a little bit, bouncing, walking around, basically really getting up. And next, when it comes to momentum, what do you do in order to create momentum? So for me, it's literally like being able to relax, which is easier when done with grace and empathy. And then when I kick back to the version who needs momentum, so basically that's the executive version of me, well, then it's like, no nonsense, let's not waste time, let's focus on this. And that's why when I usually go into hyperfocus. But when I have trouble getting there and I'm literally blocking myself, that's when I move back into the previous modus, simply because it's when I take the pressure off, things get easier. And then I can go back creating momentum. I said I wanted to share a different story with you. And here's the thing, when I don't write things down, I'm like, what was it again? It's a little annoying, heavy, but it has to do with so being absorbed in what I'm saying at that moment that when I don't write it down and I basically postpone it, I usually forget it until it actually gets back at some point again. But what I do know is that I want to talk on a little bit more about the whole AI thing. And I've noticed quite a lot that people either don't trust AI or they don't believe. And I said this before, that you cannot have an actual conversation. And that brings me back to what it is that I wanted to share with you. And it's linked to specificity. Now, I told you, if we want the correct answers from an AI, or at least something that we can work with, then we need to be specific about what it is that we need. Now, I remember like decades ago when the internet came up, people said, well, you can actually just put a question in there. And I noticed that that was, well, at some point, I just typed in the basic words if I wanted to find something that was way easier than putting an entire sentence in there. Nowadays, of course, that has changed, and you can actually write something down in there. And, well, if you use Google, it can either come up with search engines or it can actually come up with an answer from Google AI. And the same thing is true for instance, WhatsApp. And not too long ago, I was asked to read a story. And when I was reading the story, I realized this was a very adult version of a story, but it was handed to me by a child. And I was like, this doesn't match. So I asked WhatsApp AI, what are you thinking? This is a story for a child, and you're talking about all these, well, basically X-rated things. This is not normal. And it were certainly topics that shouldn't be on a child's mind, basically. And when I told WhatsApp AI the age of the child, then of course WhatsApp apologized straight away and the tone shifted. And that's why I said, if I talk to, in this case, Brendan AI, and I shift into bunny mode, then usually Brendan AI will follow, but sometimes I do have to push on a little bit in order to really get my point across. I don't want to talk in the regular way, because it's causing me to stress out. And when I'm already not grasping something because there's something that's missing, then by pushing on, that's not going to help me out. So when I talked about this live and I was preparing for this, at some point, at first there were bullets and it was listed, numbered, excellent. And then all of a sudden it was like one paragraph. And I literally said, oh, so I'm going to do a live, I'm going to read one paragraph, and then, 5 minutes in, we're already at the end. I said, I prefer bullets. And that's when I got the bullets. And that's when it comes to specificity, you want to be very explicit what it is that you want and need. And the more explicit that you get, the better answers you will get in return. If you don't give the information, like age, for instance, or background, why you are thinking about stuff, then the right information won't pop up. And earlier today, I was watching So You Think You Can Dance, and it was still airing when I started watching, so I started watching a little bit later. And I didn't realize that Google AI hadn't caught up yet with what was airing. So I started talking about the couples who were on air, and then I started noticing inconsistencies. So Google AI had no clue who the dance couple, which two were linked to one another, and there were more of these kind of things. So both with Brandon AI, but also with Google AI, I've noticed that sometimes they start mixing things up, especially Google AI is really good at mixing things up. And even when I say this is about me or this is about someone else, then still things get mixed up and I need to say, knock, knock, I think this is about me and you are now talking about someone else. So be specific. And something else that's really, really, really important, and apparently there's a term for it, misinformation. You really want to check what answers you are getting. I've noticed that a number of things which show up are actually outdated, or somehow when they look up, because they go through multiple sites, you literally see like, so probably hundreds, maybe thousands of sites are quickly checked. And sometimes the answer that pops up or shows up is like, huh? And here's the thing, when you work with AI more often, then you get to recognize AI really easily. One of the things that I absolutely do not like is when I am being fed AI made up stories. So I like to watch stories which involve people being a therapist next to a coach, and also working with people who have experienced trauma. I'm absolutely, and being curious as well, let me add that one. I want to know certain things and I want to see certain things, but I don't want to see 12 videos about cats who have been sprayed blue. Well, if you've seen that one, then you'll remember that one. Or other things. I mean, it's hard enough as it is to really be positive and always smiling, and it can really drag us down. So yes, I want to know things that are happening, which are true, but I don't want to be fed all these things which come like they are coming from news anchors, so news readers, but then in reality, it's AI sharing something. So I've been talking basically to Google AI about this. Now, first of all, I can instantly recognize when it's AI talking because they have a certain rhythm that they use. And it's very pleasant to listen to an AI. Well, at least that's what I think. Sometimes they're really slow, and sometimes, and that's something I don't like, so I go like times two. But they can be like really, the right speed. when there are verifiable things, and for instance, things that take place over here, then you can really quickly see if something adds up or not. And the moment that I see a video which is about a certain girl or a boy or a man or a woman or whatever it is, and I see all these different pictures, different ages, different environments, then I'm already done just watching it. I mean, it's a waste of time to watch it because the footage doesn't match the story, or they think it matches the story, but I see all these inconsistencies. So I'm done. And again, I'm not interested in the made up stories. I mean, if I want something made up, then either I'll write myself or I'll ask an AI to make up a story for me. But that's basically a waste of my time. So I've learned to recognize it, and sometimes I scroll all the way to the end, and then either I see it's AI generated, or there may be something like synthetic content, and I'm like, okay, so basically that means that it's been made up. And I'm certainly not going to subscribe to channels which have made up stories. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So I have learned that apparently when you click dislike, so that's this, that you can actually show YouTube, this is not what I want in my feed. So that's what we're basically trying to do. So be specific and always check the information. And like I said, especially on YouTube nowadays, they come up with the most fake things, fake thumbnails, and it, for me, it messes up YouTube. And I hope that in the near future this will change. And I understand that it's easily generated and it can lead to a lot of likes. It's just not my thing. And here's the danger: when it comes to children, they actually start to believe that those stories are true, and that's what we don't want. We don't want misinformation out there. So always check what information you've been fed and if it's actually true. Now, having said all of this, getting back to how you want to show up on a daily basis with intention already makes a lot of difference in, well, literally how you want to show up. So setting the intention, thinking about it, and also being aware of the present. And like I said, also enjoying the present, because we don't know how long we've got. It can be over and done with any moment. So by focusing on, okay, what's my purpose in life? What are my dreams? What are my goals? And then having AI help you out, whether it's ChatGPT. I actually don't use ChatGPT or another AI. It can really help you to be more present in life and to take more advantage of the time that you do have. And by being more aware of what you're doing, it can actually give you more joy, and it can make you feel a lot better about yourself. I have discussed with some people and also with AI whether or not I should share something about Bunny, and my idea was, yeah, I should. And that's because when going to a platform like LinkedIn, For me, it's businesslike, and for me, it feels like cold and distant. I'm not that person. I'm open. I'm the authentic version of me. And the 2 decades that I did work in IT, I felt like I was playing a certain role. I'm not that person anymore. What you see is what you get. But I did realize that in order for me to reach out to people, that it might actually help if they would understand why they're constantly seeing a bunny, hence why I talked about jumping bunny today. And yes, I use colors when I show quotes. That doesn't mean that I'm not serious. It just means that I like to create from a place of authenticity, but also since I'm talking about pretty heavy topics every now and then, so when I talk about perspective and about opting out, those are not easy conversations to have. But by putting colors in there or bunny, it sort of takes the edge off a little bit. But on the other hand, it stands out. And well, the fact is that I've been walking around with blue hair for a while now. So that's basically become part of my identity. And it's also visible in what I use in order to show up. So there's a pinup version of me with blue hair. And when you see that specific pinup version, then you know it's my channel. So that's easy enough. So wrapping up today's episode, I'm going to ask you, what do you do in order to be more present in the present time? And what are you doing to really give yourself that break or to help you shift gear when it comes to creating momentum? So are you aware of purpose? Do you have a purpose? Do you have a specific dream or goal? Are you like, well, never mind, it's not going to work? Well, I do have this training called Rewrite Your Inner Story. It's basically the Rewrite Your Inner Story challenge. And if you want to, you can join. I'll make sure that the link is there in the description. And by rewriting your inner story, it's about turning things around where you were like, this is not possible, or it must be me, or, well, nothing is ever going to change. But by focusing one step at a time on your purpose and really taking steps, and yes, those can be small steps, as long as you do it consistently, you can change things. If I take this to me going live, you might have noticed that in the past I was doing it on Friday Night Live. And if you followed my recent lives, then you know that I've been talking about nowadays I'm doing it on the weekends. So that's why I'm doing this as Sunday Night Live. And depending on where you are, it's actually still night for you. And for some, it's already early morning. So it depends a little bit. But I want you to think about this. If you could rewrite your inner story, what would you want to be like? Who would you like to be? I've talked about the inner kid. I've talked about my future best self. And of course, the person I am right now and how I show up. Who would you like to be in the future? And what can you do right now in order to show up? And what's that inner voice telling you to keep you from going where you actually would like to go. Because that's what the Rewrite Your Inner Story Challenge is about switching your inner beliefs to beliefs that actually work for you. Let me know what your thoughts are. And again, write things down, journal about it, start working with it. And if you want a roadmap to help you out, together with some videos, then make sure to sign up for the Rewrite Your Inner Story Challenge. You can sign up for free and you can take advantage of it. Every day will be available, like 3 days, and then it will disappear. So yeah, you have to do it within a certain time limit, but it will give you an idea what you can actually change and what actually is possible for you out there. I'll see you again next week. If you have questions, please leave a comment so I can get into, but always make sure that you keep things respectful, because this is something that is meant to give people perspective. So let's be kind to one another.